Oh, I think it's fabulously important. I myself have read a lot about Ayurveda. I am studying Indian astrology, and there's so much science in all of what we do. So we need to bring that back because it's a contiguous system. You can't just suddenly say, okay, I'm going to make an Ayurvedic tablet, but I don't believe in the three gunas or anything else. But I'm going to make this tablet in New York and I'm going to give it to you and it's going to fix you up. When you take a piece out and you try to understand it, it doesn't work. So it's very important because one, it's a contiguous science and it's also related to our framework of belief. And then you have the rest of the sciences. Okay, you have artificial intelligence. I'm a computer scientist, electrical engineer, but then you can apply those with another framework. And even now, if you look at quantum physics and our belief on consciousness, all our Sanatan Dharma belief, they're fusing together. So it's not like one is distant from another. So I think it's fabulous. I'm all for it.
We want to blend Indian knowledge system, IKS, and contemporary knowledge system, CKS. So in CVV, you have heard this word IKS, CKS all the time. I don't know who else talk about it. So essentially, our idea was that you can't create discontinuities in education. After all, we are in a certain paradigm today. There's a lot of Western education, you talk of geometry, you talk of accounting, auditing, do all that. Of course, we should. But then we can step back and say that many of these concepts have been very nicely articulated. That's one. Secondly, with all our progress that we have done today, there are some major fault lines which we are not able to solve. Just to give you one example, deprived meaning in workplace is a problem world over. People are burned, burnout, stress, health issues. So work and joy umbilical cord has been cut for whatever reasons. You step into Bhagavad Gita, the core theme is the work and joy. So another reason why this integration we thought must happen is there are some areas which we are unable to answer today, unable to sort of get a very nice way to handle that issue. Can we look at some other set of knowledge which perhaps would have thought about it, and we find plenty in IKS. So this was the starting point. So therefore what we said, of course you do your CKS, you do your regular core courses and so on, but create a structure in the university system. All these we thought in 2015, which NEP is talking today, is create flexibility, create mechanisms by which you can acquire different kind of knowledge and dovetail into your core. Let's say somebody is doing an MBA or a psychology. So let them read psychology, then you bring the psychological ideas from the Indian wisdom. You have Sankhya Darshana, we have Upanishads which bring some very nice ideas about psychology. So bring it in. Maybe create an elective course, create a mechanism by which students can work on some of these granthas and write up a thesis, or bring it into your regular psychology course, add a couple of modules there. So there are many ways by which we are looking around and say, oh, here is something which will very well address some of the issues that we have, which is in the ancient Indian wisdom. Let us bring it here. So this was the process. And so we need a process which we put in place. We needed a governance mechanism which we put in place. We need a structural modification, which means the degree program must have flexibility, should allow other courses. Just to give you an example, we wanted our Sanskrit students. We will teach them very good Sanskrit, good granthas, good Vyakarana, etc. But they will do a course on marketing and entrepreneurship. And they will, perhaps somebody is interested in accounting, they'll do a course on accounting. I want these guys to get into the mainstream and say, I'll bring this knowledge into this workplace. So this was the theme with which we went about.
I teach a course called Indian Approaches to Psychotherapy, which means Indian approaches basically is about the Indian knowledge systems. So what I'm looking at in the course is to see what are the approaches from Indian knowledge system which can be used in terms of the practice of psychotherapy. So for example, I would go into the class and I will tell them, okay, settle down, everybody settle down, and now just take 1 minute, keep quiet, close your eyes and think about what is your inner experience at this moment. What are you feeling? What are you thinking? How are you, feeling within yourself? And then I would say, okay, now few of you tell me, how you're feeling at the moment. And they would tell me all kinds of things. My mind is very agitated. I'm feeling a bit sad because this happened and that happened. Then I would say, okay, I want all of you to now close your eyes. And I would take them through a meditation mindfulness exercise. And that lasts about 10 minutes. And after the 10 minutes, I ask them again, now, how are you feeling now? And then most of the students will say, I'm feeling much calmer and peaceful within myself. So I said, what do you think happened? And can you see the effect of mindfulness in terms of your own thoughts, feelings, and sensations? And then we would discuss about, what are the differences between before and after the meditation. And then I would take them into thinking about, well, what is meditation all about? And what is meditation in terms of the mechanisms and the processes which are going on in your mind? So I would then pick out all the different processes. For example, I would talk about emotional regulation, and I would talk about cognitive, control. And I would say, what about your attention? Did you see how the attention was actually limited to one thing? And so on and so on. So I would describe the various mechanisms according to Western psychology, which talks about emotional regulation, cognitive control in terms of having a clear mind and a focused mind. So now I am talking about Western models and theories of attention, focus. I'm talking about emotional regulation, and I'm talking about cognitive control. Now, all these models and theories are coming from the Western psychological point of view. Mindfulness is coming from the other side. So the mindfulness itself is a mental technique, a technique which helps us in terms of not only focusing on something, but concentrating, paying attention, and all the systems which are there in terms of Western psychology. We can explain how meditation actually works within the lens of the Western psychology. Now, what have we done here? We have brought meditation from the Indian knowledge systems and given it as a practice to the students. They also know about the Western psychological models of, how the mind works and so on. And now we have brought them together to explain what meditation is all about and how it can be used in terms of the client who is suffering, who is in a state of anxiety. So this is one way in which, I conduct my classes. So I will take some technique, some idea from Indian knowledge system, the similar area from the contemporary knowledge of psychology, models, concepts, and then I'll bring them together to see how they are different, how they are similar, how we can combine them together to come up with a new model of how things can be explained and worked.
I think education plays a key role in building the right values and the base, based on which the youngster can then build a future, right? So if the foundation is strong, right, then you can build anything and even tear it down and rebuild if required. And therefore, I think CVV, not just amalgamating IKS and CKS, I think that's just one aspect, which is about providing that broad-based curriculum. But I think value-based education, which is the underlying foundation, and what that means that it translates into helping the students find that anchor for themselves. I think finding that emotional and spiritual anchor is the most important aspect, and I think everything else can then be built around that and on top of that. And that's where I think CVV plays a key part. Because we are focusing on that foundation, I think that is going to help build an entire generation of youth who will be equipped both in terms of knowledge to create material wealth and contribute to the nation, but also as individuals be fundamentally strong because they have this foundation of the right values.